Greetings to you all. I'm Ramya, Assistant Professor from the Department of English. Today we are going to see the topic on the art of listening. In this digital era of online classes, Indian students are more inclined to e-devices such as Android mobile phones, laptops, tops, tablets, and iPads for their academics. The current situation has inadvertently led the students to be in a context reduced environment where they are totally dependent upon the virtual lecture delivered by a virtual teacher in a virtual academic classroom. They have to listen carefully and take notes. The virtual teacher may be sharing interesting animations and enlightening PowerPoint presentations about the concepts being delivered with an intention to drive home the facts to the students. However, students from vernacular medium find it very difficult to get tuned to the accent and intonation of the teacher's delivery in the English classroom. Despite the unrelenting and unflinching efforts of the teachers to stay digitally connected with the students online, the students have to follow meticulously what the virtual teacher is explaining or narrating by attentive and active listening part. Passive listening is virtual academic classrooms will definitely have its toll on the academic proficiency of the students' community. In such a scenario, listening plays an essential and indispensable role in enhancing the overall academic proficiency of students. Academic language proficiency is the narrow domain of linguistic competence that comes under the umbrella term communication skills, and the strategies to enhance the academic listening skills of the students in the Indian context are dealt within this video. Let us move on to the slides. Here, the man in a mask is actually wearing the mask for his comfort. So, I wear it for comfort, he says. I think everyone will be wearing them in the future. It shows that he is keenly listening to others. What are the learning outcomes if we listen properly? We can explain what we mean by listening skills, identify why listening skills are important from an employability perspective, identify key reasons why we often fail to listen effectively, and we can adapt some listening techniques to ensure that we listen effectively to others. Almost 45% of time we spend in listening, an essential management and leadership skill. It improves our management and leadership skill, and it helps us to receive the information, interpret the information, and reacting to a message. And we should know about the difference between the listening and hearing. Why should we be a good listener? Needs of the customer. If we listen carefully, we can be recognized and remembered, and we will be valued, and we are creating the value on us in the minds of others. We will be appreciated if we listen carefully to others. We will be respected and we will be understood by others. There won't be any misunderstanding between others and us. And we may feel comfortable about a want or need. So we should be a very good listener. What are all the traits of a good listener? Being non evaluative, paraphrasing, reflecting implications, reflecting hidden feelings, and we can invite further contributions and respond non verbally also. In this slide, we can see the percentage of communication. In different modes of communication, in writing, we spend at least 12 years of formal years of training, and that denotes only 9% of time we are using for uh, writing. Next, the mode of communication is reading part. We spend at least 6 to 8 years of our years in reading part, and 16 percentage we communicate with others in reading part. Third one is speaking. Nearly 1 to 2 years only we spend our formal years of training. That contributes nearly 30% of our time used in communicating with others. Next one is listening. 0 to few hours we spend our formal years of training, and 45% of time we spend in communicating with others. Here we can see the abbreviation of this listen. Look, that is L denotes look interested or get interested in others' speech or words. I indicates that involve yourself by responding to others' questions, messages, or information. S denotes stay on target, so we should be alert. And next one is T denotes test your understanding level. E denotes evaluate the message. So we have to carefully evaluate the information we receive from others. N denotes neutralize your feelings. When we listen to people, we should not think about any difference in the minds of us. So we should be uh, patient in listening to others. Listening is the most powerful form of acknowledgement. If somebody is important, we should listen? No. Most of the time, we should listen to others with an intention that they are important to us. Here the picture shows that two monkeys hug each other. Listening builds strong relationships and creates a desire to cooperate among people because they feel accepted and acknowledged. When it happens in the animals, why should not we? Listening promotes being heard. The lion is out of that boy where he is sitting, but the lion is listening to the boy, what his reaction is towards him. Seek first to understand, then be understood. Listening creates acceptance and openness. It conveys a message that I am not judging you. Between these pair of couple, listening leads to learning. It creates openness, encourages a person growth and learning. Listening reduces stress and tension. When we listen to a song, we all feel that our stress is reduced. It minimizes confusion also and misunderstanding, and we can eliminate related stress and tension. Listening is critical in conflict resolution. So much conflict comes from the much conflict comes from the need to be heard. Successful resolution depends on being a non-anxious presence. What are all the barriers to listening? Equate with hearing, uninteresting topics, speakers' delivery, external distractions, mentally preparing response, listening for facts, personal concerns, personal bias, language or cultural differences, seeking attention, external factors that affect academic listening. So, academic listening of Indian students is affected by many external factors. Many barriers are there, coexist in the process of their listening comprehension. Students, listeners have to be aware of the topic in which the lecture is to be delivered. The voice of the speaker must be clear and audible. It must necessarily be in either a neutral accent or in an accent with which the student is very familiar. The context of the lecture should be relevant to the topic being discussed, or else the entire listening process will turn futile. External factors such as topic, speaker, awareness, clarity, effectiveness, and context are also important in the comprehension process. When such factors are not operating at optimal levels and or when the cultural or linguistic context is unfamiliar to the listener, they become misleading or useless as clues to understanding. In addition, the fleeting nature of oral input makes comprehension and verbal learning very difficult. The voice of the speaker delivering the lecture should be clearly audible, and instructors should prepare students for the listening task by teaching advanced vocabulary items in advance, providing them with the general topic statement, and by explaining the listening task in a detailed way. The rate of delivery is another important factor in listening comprehensibility. And there is an author, James, believes that any recorded L2 listening text running over 3 minutes, 3 minutes induce sensory overload unless the topic is of high interest or entertainment value to the listener. For classroom instructional purposes, he states that audio taped segments should not exceed 1 minute. But this is not applicable to the students who are self-learning their topic of interest through audiobooks or podcasts or audio lectures or YouTube videos. Clearly, it is important to develop L2 listening competence. Yet, in spite of its importance, L2 learners are rarely taught how to listen effectively. In the Indian context, if some strategies to hone the academic listening skills are developed in Indian students. In the current scenario, the Indian youth can benefit a lot. What is meant by bad listening skills? Criticizing the subject or the speaker, getting overstimulated, listening only for facts, and when the teacher is teaching, the student will not take any notes or outline everything. Not taking notes or outlining everything. Tolerating or creating distraction. If he wants something or if he does not want to listen to the class, then he automatically disturbs the other student by asking something and interrupts the listening part. Letting emotional words block message and wasting time difference between speed of speech and speed of thought. So these are all the bad listening habits among students. Not all the students, only very few. What is listening? If you ask a group of people to give a one word description of listening, some would say hearing. But listening is following and understanding the sound. It is hearing with a purpose. So listening is following and understanding the sound with a purpose alone. Here we can see the difference between listening and hearing. Hearing is a physical process, natural, passive. But listening is, it involves physical as well as mental process, and it's too active. It's a learned process and it is one of the skills we speak about. Listening is hard. You must choose to participate in the process of listening. What is meant by receiving skills? Listening is composed of six distinct components. One is hearing, second one is attending, third one is interpreting, fourth one is evaluating, fifth one is remembering, sixth one is responding. First one, hearing. The physiological process of receiving sound and or other stimuli, that is only meant by hearing. Attending, the conscious and unconscious process of focusing attention on external stimuli. Interpreting, the process of decoding the symbols or behavior attended to. Evaluating is the process of deciding the value of the information to the receiver. Remembering, the process of placing the appropriate information into short term or long term storage. Responding, the process of giving feedback to the source and or other receivers. These are all the receiving skills when we are involving in the activity of listening. What are all the facts about listening? Listening is our primary communication activity. So without listening, we cannot do anything. Our listening habits are not the result of training, but rather the result of the lack of it. Most individuals are inefficient listeners. Inefficient and ineffective listening is extraordinarily costly. Good listening can be taught. Styles of receiving. There are a number of styles of receiving the information. The appropriate style is dependent upon the relative importance of content compared to the relationship and the involvement of the individual receiving the information. I can just quote uh, one of the quotes. No one is as deaf as the person who will not listen. Is often repeated proverb we might have heard in the past. Only a deaf person cannot listen properly, but others can all listen to it with the intention of listening to other people. Nobody can compel us to listen. With our intention or mind only, we can just listen to others. Facts about listening. Listening is learned first and used most, and 45% we are involving in listening only and taught least. And it is not taught by anybody. We are only listening, we only pay attention to others, and it is one of the skills carry uh, most of the percentage also. Speaking, learned second, used next to most, one of the skills, and it involves nearly 30 percentage, and taught next to least. And next one is reading. It is learned as a third skill, used next least, and it carries 16 percentage, and taught next most. And that's why we arrange in the order LS or W. And writing learned as a fourth skill, used least, that is 9 percentage alone, taught most. So if we see among these skills, listening is only taught least, but it which carries nearly 45 percentage. So we should understand the importance of listening. Relational receiving skills. Non-listening, a style that is appropriate when the receiver has no need for the content and has minimal relationship with the sender. Pseudo-listening, a way of faking it, where the receiver feels obligated to listen even though they are preoccupied, unable or unwilling to at that particular time. Defensive listening, a style of listening used in situations where the receiver feels that he might be taken advantage of it if he does not protect himself by listening for information directly relevant to him. Appreciative listening, a style that is appropriate in a recreational setting where the listener is participating as a way of passing time or being entertained. Listening with empathy, that is understanding, A style that teaches an individual to enter fully into the world of the other and truly comprehend their thoughts and feelings. Naively listening to customers. A style that helps build an ongoing relationship by helping the receiver understand the needs of the sender. Therapeutic cathartic listening, a listening style used by psychological counselors to help people who are having problems dealing with life situations. And therapeutic diagnostic listening, a listening style that is used to assess the needs of the sender. So, the last listening, therapeutic, cathartic, and diagnostic listening, mostly involved in the process of psychological counseling. Content receiving skills. Insensitive listening or offensive listening, a style where the listener's main intent is to select information that can later be used against the speaker. Insulated listening, a style where the listener avoids responsibility of failing to acknowledge that they have heard the information presented by the speaker. Selective listening, a style where the listener only responds to the parts of the message that directly interest him. Bottom line listening, a style of listening where the receiver is only concerned about the facts, just the facts man. Quote reporter syndrome, a style of taking in a speaker's message and recording it verbatim. And informational listening, a style that is used when the listener is seeking out specific information. Evaluative listening, a style used to listen to information upon which a decision has to be made. Critical incidence listening, a style used when the consequence of not listening may have dramatic effects. Intimate listening, the style that is appropriate when the speaker is communicating significant relational information, being completely and wholly honest. So, in listening also we have different types of listening. Types of listening. First one is inactive listening, selective listening, active listening, reflective listening. Active versus passive listening. Show keenness, expressions, and we will be alert and we can answer the questions when puts and not neglecting physical aspects, valid reason for criticism. Implications. Good listening helps us to take better decisions and make better policies in organization. On the contrary, lack of proper listening can lead to embarrassing situations because of a gap in coordination and understanding. Here are the do's and don'ts for effective listening part. Be mentally prepared to listen. Evaluate the speech, not the speaker. Be unbiased to the speaker by depersonalizing your feelings. Fight distractions by closing off sound sources. Be open minded and we can ask questions to clarify and not to overshadow intelligence. Paraphrase from time to time, and we have to send appropriate non-verbal signals time to time. We have to follow the body language properly when we are listening to others. And what are all the don'ts? And not to pay undue emphasis on vocabulary as you can use the context to understand the meaning. And not to pay too much attention to the accessories and clothing of the speaker and not to prepare your responses while the speaker is speaking. Avoid preconceptions and prejudices, not to get distracted by outside influences, not to interrupt too often, not to show boredom. At least we have to pretend that we are listening to a other one without minding what he or she is. What are all the 10 keys to effective listening part? We have to find the areas of interest. The poor listener tunes out dry topics, and the good listener, what he will do is when sees his opportunities, what is in it for me. That is the attitude he creates, and judge content, not delivery. The poor listener tunes out if delivery is poor. The good listener judges content, skips over delivery errors. Next one, third one is hold your fire. The poor listener tends to enter into argument. The good listener, what he will do in the sense, does not judge until comprehension is complete. That is, understanding is complete. Listen for ideas. The poor listener, he will listen for facts. The good listener, he will listen for central theme. Be a flexible note taker. The poor listener is busy with form, misses content, but the good listener adjusts to topic and organizational pattern. Work at listening. The poor listener shows no energy output, fakes attention. The good listener always works hard, exhibits alertness, resists distractions. The poor listener is distracted easily. The good listener fights or avoids distractions, tolerates bad habits in others, knows how to concentrate. Exercise your mind. The poor listener resists difficult material, seeks light recreational material, whereas the good listener uses heavier material as exercise for the mind. Keep your mind open. The poor listener reacts to emotional words. The good listener interprets emotional words, does not get hung up on them. Thought is faster than speech usage. The poor listener tends to daydream with slow speakers. The good listener challenges, anticipates, mentally summarizes, weighs the evidence, listens between the lines to tone and voice. To conclude, you do not listen with just your ears, you listen with your eyes, with your sense of touch. You listen with your mind, your heart, your imagination. A good conversationalist is popular, a good listener even more so. So talk only if you have something to say. Before concluding, I would like to say a few words. Listening comprehension is an important language skill to develop in this era of online or offline classes or in the general context. If Indian students want to enhance their academic listening skills, they must follow the strategies. This extra effort of self learning in their own chosen area of interest will definitely go a long way in the acquisition of academic language proficiency in their field. And acquisition of academic language proficiency will help them achieve great heights not only in academics but also in the career. L2 learners are rarely taught how to listen effectively. In the Indian context, if some strategies to hone the academic listening skills are developed in Indian students, in the current scenario, the Indian youth can benefit a lot. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.